The boy saw a ghost at birth, and one came to 4, but he was not afraid, and was very happy. Often giggled at the wall. Dad has always suspected that his son is not the onset of the disease, but in Donnie's perspective, there are 4 ghosts playing with him. They are not only good looking, but also the rare good ghosts, very fond of children. Later, they simply became ghost nannies, take good care of him, until Donnie grew up a little, only to know that the aunt and uncle around is a ghost, and only they can see, but the ghosts like being sealed. Cannot leave Donnie more than 10 meters, accompany Donnie to class. The 4 ghosts often hide in the toilet singing and dancing, but in the eyes of others, Donnie is a psychopath. One of the leather-clad men took him to a horse race. When he was refused to place a bet, he was taught to lie. The man in leather taught him to lie.
Please, my dad said if I don't place this bet for him, I shouldn't come home ever. I'm getting old.
I ended up winning a lot of money. Soon after, Child Welfare Office approached Donnie's parents that someone had reported them for letting their child buy lottery tickets. The two were confused. It was hard to explain to them. That night, his father considered sending Donnie to a mental institution, but his mother disagreed. A heated argument broke out between the two. This made the young Donnie very scared. The ghosts also blamed themselves. After all, it was the child they brought up. If this continues, it will really harm him, since they couldn't leave Donnie. So the ghosts decided to go invisible, wake up Donnie and say goodbye to him one by one.
I am so proud of you.
Finally, they disappeared before the child's eyes. The departure of the ghosts made him very sad. After many years, growing up, Donnie had a successful career, and the ghosts are still invisible around him. But Donnie's character became arrogant, like the Iron Man he played. What the ghosts can't accept is that girlfriend wants to take him to meet the parents. Donnie but squirmed and refused to do anything. The ghosts cannot look down. At that moment a bus from heaven came through the wall. It's here to take the ghosts to their next life, but they recognized the driver in front of them. It turns out that 30 years ago, the 4 of them were on the bus he was driving. Because of the driver's desertion, all of them died on the spot, and they were attracted by a mysterious force. They were drawn by a mysterious force to the car next to them. The baby in the car was Donnie. The fates of the 4 ghosts and 1 person are also connected at this moment. They were supposed to be reincarnated 20 years ago, but due to the confusion of time and heaven, the ghosts stayed on Earth for 10 more years. The driver was also punished to drive a bus for 500 years to atone for his sins. But everyone still had a wish to be fulfilled. They didn't want to leave like that. The driver promised to give them some time to accomplish their wish. But what can the ghosts do? The driver told the ghosts that ghosts can possess living people. Now they can only hope for Donnie. Donnie confessed his love to his girlfriend. The ghosts around him to greet him was directly ignored. They were not happy about it. In the Donnie drive shouting, but still no response. That's when the ghosts had the idea. We can sing his childhood songs. With the familiar melody played, Donnie actually unconsciously hummed it. He also faintly heard the sound of talking. He looked into the back seat in horror. Then he saw a ghost in broad daylight.
Hope he doesn't take us badly.
Donnie was so scared that he crashed into a flower bed. He was admitted to the hospital. At his bedside, the ghosts began to bicker. Donnie was woken up by the noise, but when he opened his eyes, he found ghosts all around him. He was scared straight to the corner, shivering. He could not believe his eyes. Hurry out of the room. He ran straight to the 6th floor psychiatric department. The ghosts followed Donnie and explained to him that a doctor actually greeted them. Seeing that there was help, Donnie immediately rushed over to them. He asked the doctor, "Can you see anyone around?" The doctor said, "I did not find people, but I can see the 4 ghosts next to you." He also said exactly what the ghosts looked like. He finally believed it was true. Because of the disappearance of the ghosts, 7-year-old Donnie was traumatized and, thinking that his past as a companion of ghosts was all a lie. The ghosts want to ask him to help fulfill their wishes, but Donnie was angry because of the year of parting. But Donnie was angry at the parting and refused their request. The 4 ghosts kept haunting him. One of the blondes directly possessed. He hadn't been a human being for 30 years. Feel a little rusty. Then he took control of Donnie, with head-scratching movements and voice, to make a fool of himself in a company meeting.
Don't shoot you. Jesus, Thomas, what is this?
When the blonde leaves, he's being possessed by the leather-clad guy again. He jumped right on the table and molested the female leader in public. Donnie starts to fight back. The body and the ghost fought for control of the body. He does a little dance on the table, and so out of the conference room, the man in leather left his body. This time he's in big trouble. The ghosts immediately think of a solution. Donnie also agreed to help. The man in the leather jacket was a thief before, but he only steals from rich people. A rich man wanted a child's stamps, but the child did not sell, so the rich man hired him to steal the stamp. It was left to him by the boy's grandfather. Afterwards, the man in leather regretted it. He thought it was the nastiest thing he had ever done. They went to the rich man's house. The man in leather enters the house to investigate and then attaches himself to Donnie. Easily picked the lock of the door. very smoothly stole the stamps, but just to the door was a vicious dog blocked the way, barking to attract the rich man. The man in leather did not let up and gave the rich man a stick, followed by a scolding. At that moment, the dog rushed in. The man in leather immediately climbed out of the window and escaped. The next day, Donnie put the stamp on the boy's doorstep. By now he was a father, but after all these years, he was still very excited to see the lost stamps. The man in leather finally completed the redemption. He can go on the road without fear. This is a heavenly bus, specializing in picking up wandering ghosts from the earth to reincarnate. The man in leather has fulfilled his wish. The driver waved his hand, and he was sucked into the bus. A new life is in need of a soul. Now it's Betty's turn. She's a single mother. Before she leaves, she wants to see her 3 children. They were adopted by different families, but after decades, it's impossible to find out the exact address. Luckily, Betty found a former neighbor. From her, she learned the addresses of her 2 daughters, but the youngest son's family moved around a lot and lost contact with them a long time ago. Now Donnie can only help another ghost to complete the wish. Mike likes to sing, but he has a social phobia, always afraid to perform on stage. Betty possessed Donnie's body, successfully lured away the security guards, and then sneak into the concert site. At this point, Mike again wimped out. Donnie demonstration, directly to the center of the stage. Mike was dragged over and pushed into Donnie's body, but then he withdrew in fear, and Donnie began to reprimand him.
You died of failure because you never tried.
These words woke Mike up. He once again gathered his courage and, from humming at the beginning, he started humming and finally let his voice go. The audience was also moved by Mike's voice. At that moment, he put his failed life behind him. He left without regret, but Donnie was arrested by the police for trespassing at the concert. But the officer only thought the man had a problem. After the fine, he was released just out of the police station, but met his girlfriend. Yesterday she asked Donnie to meet his parents. Donnie refused to meet his parents because he was too busy at work. I didn't realize he was lying to himself. It turned out that his girlfriend had witnessed the whole process at the concert. Although Donnie explained to her, but his girlfriend was still angry and left. He was in a very bad mood. Then there was a car accident. Crash or just the officer's car. The girl in the car was woken up. The officer sang a children's song to put her to sleep. Betty, however, the more she heard it, the more familiar it became. This is a lullaby she made up for her child. Is the police officer his own son? Donnie tentatively asked him questions. I didn't expect all of them to be right. Her son was right in front of her. Betty immediately borrowed Donnie's body and gave him a loving hug. That's when the bus from heaven arrived. Before she left, Betty told Donnie,
I'm saying goodbye to both my sons.
after all these years, Donnie was like another child to her. The bus disappeared into the night. Now all that's left is blonde hair. Her wish was to see her boyfriend one more time. Blondie grew up in the countryside. She went to work alone in the big city. She made her boyfriend wait for many years. The two of them also broke up. When she finally figured it out, she was killed in a car accident after knocking on the door of her boyfriend's room, but she was told that he had died 7 years ago. The blonde was devastated. The goodbye to her lover became an eternal goodbye. Although her wish became a regret, Blondie still hopes that Donnie can get his girlfriend back, but Donnie is afraid. Always try to hide it. She wants Donnie to end his loneliness, to be brave and to express. Don't be like yourself. Don't wait until you lose it to learn to appreciate it. Donnie finally agreed. Blondie also disappeared into the distance in a bus. Finally he asked his girlfriend to meet him. He finds the courage to open the chains of his heart. He apologized to her. His girlfriend forgave him. They kissed and hugged each other.